John Roselli's life in the Chicago Mafia, the Havana casinos, his dickering with the CIA over how Fidel Castro might be killed have led to dozens of theories about why Roselli died. Those subpoenaed today indicate that homicide detectives are pursuing leads that he may have been killed because of a money squabble within the mob. The most famous of those subpoenaed was Meyer Lansky. The fifth man subpoenaed is Julio Greco, believed to be an associate of Roselli. If the other four testify as they have in the past when they were subpoenaed, they will bring a card with them that says, "I respectfully decline to answer on the grounds of the Fifth Amendment." I'm Clarence Jones, Newswatch 10. Meyer Lansky, Dean of Finance for all of organized crime, supervisor of casino gambling worldwide for the mob, the elder statesman whose advice is sought on almost every aspect of money making or money laundering by the mob. Gus Alex, identified by a Senate committee as an associate of the Chicago Mafia family in which Roselli worked. The committee said Alex runs gambling and shylocking in Chicago's Loop area. Tony Giacalone, long identified as a senior member of the old Zerilli Mafia family in Detroit, now believed to be running that family. Senate investigators have said his specialties are gambling and shylocking. He is active in South Florida building project. Charles the Blade Tourine, senior member of the old Genovese family in New York, who has spent most of his recent time in South Florida. Tourine was indicted last November as the man who organized prostitution for workers on the Alaskan oil pipeline.
Well, obviously we're subpoenaing them in the hope that they will provide us with some information which will lead us to some kind of solution in the investigation. If they don't tell us anything, then it will be up to the state attorney's office to decide what further action can be taken.
I know, but, you know, you have to realize, you know.
You're not still on the subpoena?
No.
Did you answer all the questions?
No, not all of them.
Did they ask you about you going out there to give a deposition?
Tell us about the progress in the cases.
Into the elevator. How about putting out a few tips?
He most certainly appears to have died on or about July 28th, when he was reported to have last been seen alive. The amount of decomposition which he had undergone was very consistent with that time of death. They were somewhat more successful, I suppose, in the case of Jimmy Hoffa. They seem to have been less successful in this case.
What's the state of the investigation now? We're pretty busy right now, and we're continuing the investigation as of that happened yesterday. Is there any information you can tell us? Well, anybody that has any information regarding Mr. Roselli leaving Fort Lauderdale area, we're trying to locate any information on July the 28th after 1 p.m.
John Roselli testified last year to the Senate Intelligence Committee that he and longtime friend Sam Giancana were recruited by the CIA to assassinate Cuban Premier Fidel Castro. Before Giancana could testify, he was murdered. Saturday, fishermen found a 55-gallon barrel wrapped in chains with a body inside. The victim was identified early Sunday as John Roselli, believed to be a key figure in underworld activities. Investigators at the Dade County Public Safety Department say they are receiving phone calls from law enforcement agencies throughout the United States about the Roselli case, and several motives into the homicide have been established.
There's a good possibility, as far as motives go, that it may be a power struggle or his testimony regarding a Senate subcommittee involving Castro activities. All these motives are not being ruled out at this time.
Do you know if there are any leads in the case?
At this point, I would say no. But we are working very diligently, and we have investigators out in the street to uncover whatever we can, possibly make an arrest in this case.
According to sources within the Dade County Public Safety Department, there has been an increase of mob-related activities here in South Florida, and that increase means there will be more violent crimes linked to the organized underworld.
I think if you look at the historical pattern of organized crime deaths in this community, in the last 4 or 5 years we've had quite a significant number of deaths. What we can anticipate because of this movement is open competition amongst family groups and independents, which will result in continued violent type crimes. And this is a fallacy that people feel it doesn't affect them. It affects the whole community.
John Roselli's last known address was 5220 Southwest 10th Court in Plantation, a single-story house in an upper-middle-class Broward neighborhood. The neighbors say Mr. and Mrs. J. Deagle live there, but they haven't been seen in over a week. The flowers at the front door remained outside early this afternoon. The FBI confirms that Roselli's real name is Filippo Sacco, and agents add they will not openly investigate the murder until they get jurisdiction in the case. Al Sunshine, Channel 4 News.
Reputed mafia associate Giulio Greco is scheduled to appear before Dade State Attorney's investigators here tomorrow in their probe of the gangland-style slaying of mobster John Roselli. Greco was questioned last week, and it's speculated that he, like most of the other witnesses, refused to answer questions about the slaying. Most of the witnesses have organized crime backgrounds, in line with the current theory that Roselli was killed by the mob for talking too much. But the 71-year-old Roselli had many strange ties, aside from those to American organized crime, ties that have interested a number of investigating agencies. The CIA, the FBI, the Secret Service, and the organized crime bureaus of a number of cities all have conducted some sort of probe into the Roselli affair. But because of the strange nature of the case, information has not been freely exchanged, bogging down the investigation. Roselli's connection with Cuba was deep and long-running. In the years before Castro's rise to power, American gamblers ran the casinos for then-Cuban President Batista, and high among them were Johnny Roselli and his underworld associates Sam Giancana, shot to death last year, and Santos Traficante, now living in Miami. Soon after the revolution, Roselli and Giancana were recruited to plan the assassination of Fidel Castro. Their contact, Robert Mayhew, at one point Howard Hughes's right-hand man and a CIA operative. Another familiar name appears, Judith Exner, self-styled mistress of President John Kennedy, was also the girlfriend of both Giancana and Roselli. The attempts on Castro's life, both before and after the Bay of Pigs, were unsuccessful, but they led to another bizarre connection. Roselli let it be known in 1967 that he knew the identities of Castro agents who had come to this country to assassinate John Kennedy in retaliation for the attempts on Castro's life. There is evidence that Roselli's theory was discounted to a great degree by authorities at the time. But might these alleged Castro agents have had something to do with Roselli's own death? We spoke with Metro Homicide Captain John Lewis.
Well, we've certainly been aware of the information that Mr. Roselli was testifying before a Senate committee in Washington, that he had apparently assisted the CIA in setting up alleged assassination plots of Castro by his influence with organized crime. But we have no information as a result of our investigation that this entered into his death.
Well, Mr. Roselli did mention, at least to his lawyers, some Cubans who might still be in this country, who might have had something to do with the plots on John Kennedy's life. Any names from that investigation surfacing now?
We have no information that we can release at this time regarding that matter.
The bloody history of John Roselli ended here. His disfigured body found stuffed in an oil drum floating in Dumbfundling Bay. But the mystery surrounding his death goes on and grows deeper. And the ominous connections that tie him with organized crime and with gambling in pre-Castro Cuba and with the CIA and with attempts on the lives of two heads of state leave questions that will probably remain unanswered. Ben Stone, Channel 4.